East Coast don't get to watch him play because his games are at 10, 11 o'clock because he plays in California. People in the East might not have ever seen him play, but we know who he is because his dad can beat Michael Jordan in one-on-one in his mind. That being said, it does put a lot of unfair pressure on Lonzo, and it's just a matter of time before his dad writes a $50 million check that his body only has $25 million in the bank for. Right. It's not fair to his son to the degree that it's going with some of the comments. If he were to say, I think my son could beat Steph Curry in a game of one-on-one, if he's not putting these definites out there, I think it's great. I think it's great for Lonzo. The problem is, in addition to Lonzo, he has two other sons, LaMelo, and the other one's name is escaping me. They're in high school right now, and they're nowhere near as good as Lonzo is. But he's saying things like, anyone that wants all three of his kids for promotional deals, the going price is $1 billion. First of all, only one of your kids right now is NBA talent. Only one of your kids is, going to a big school, and he's the one that's already there. So it's pretty ridiculous. I refer to this as shameless marketing because he's saying things like his kids are going to be one and done. Lonzo, yes, he's a one and done. If he decides to go back to UCLA, everyone would be absolutely astounded.
I don't think there's any reason for him to go to UCLA again for another year. I don't know that I see that. We have no way of projecting how his brothers are going to play. Although the talent may not be there. But you know what? It might benefit them. I guess, to actually be there more than a couple of years.
Yeah, so the brothers, they are currently like 250th and 315th in the nation in college basketball, or in high school basketball. So what that means is they're not going to a one-and-done type of school. They're not going to Kentucky. They're not going to Duke. They're not going to UCLA or Arizona. They're going to go to a school like South Carolina.
I was going to say Stony Brook.
They're probably better than Stony Brook, because that means there are 300 and some colleges in Division I basketball. So that means they're going to be going to a school better than Stony Brook, but they're probably going to end up at a school like Missouri, Baylor, where it's not a one and done, where it's you play 3 years at least to develop your skills. This guy, though, he is just...
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to Lonzo, and I don't think it's especially fair to his other sons. I think he's putting way too much pressure on them, and he should... it's okay to have all the faith in the world in your kids, but you don't talk all that trash unless you can back it up. And only one of his kids is even showing that he might be able to back up. I don't know, half of what his father has claimed so far.
Right. I just say stay tuned, because if this is him talking now, it's not.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna have to get used to him. This isn't gonna stop.
At least 3 more years of him.
And if teams have Ball and Fultz, right next to each other, I would go Fultz rather than have this. Especially, I'm a Knicks fan. New York media is already
Me too.
A mess. I would take Fultz in a heartbeat over Ball just to avoid that show.
You're an entire step ahead of me. Next question. You're the GM of an NBA franchise. Do you take him? Do you draft Lonzo Ball?
You still do.
Depending on your need, yeah.
But I said, if you have him and another player as equal par, you're going to go with that other player. But he's above 90% of the player, 99% even of the players that are eligible. So
because it's just a matter of time before LeVar Ball tries to walk his way into an NBA team's locker room or walk to a media conference and
I think if
try
you
and take
take a
control.
chance, I think if you're gonna draft him, if you're gonna take him, you're expecting this with his father, and I think it's something you address right out the gate. You have to talk to him about it and make it as clear to him that, listen, your father is at liberty to say whatever he wants, but this is a business, and we can't have it affecting our business.
I think you're going to see a little bit of it getting cut back once he's officially eligible, because he's going to have an agent, he's going to have a PR guy, and his dad might keep talking, but you'll see some statements from him like, he needs to relax. He might not go full on contradicting, but PR, there's experts for a reason.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I wouldn't draft him when there's other talent. Like Malik Monk from Kentucky looks really good.
I was going to mention Monk. He looks like a good player.
He looks really good. Problem is, a lot of teams have the mentality you don't draft for your need, especially in the NBA. You draft for who's the best available.
Which has never really made sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent is what it is, but, Sacramento's proven you can get the best guy, but that doesn't mean that everything else is going to work around him.
Boogie Cousins.
Well, they have a lot more. They have a lot more issues than.
Well, their issues is from the ownership down.
Yeah.
It starts at the top, where Sacramento is a disaster.
Yeah, and I don't have any faith in their draft strategy. I think, they're ahead of the Knicks right now in draft position, and I don't really think they're going to take BPA. I think they're going to go for whoever the owner's favorite is, and that's not always the best guy.
Probably some foreigner.
Probably, but foreigners have worked out. Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Anyways, let's move away from crazy and get into something that's more fantasy. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's currently no James Bond. Daniel Craig most likely is done. And one of the popular names that has been floated out there for a year or so now is Idris Elba.
Would love it.
A lot of people have a problem because, and this is going to be silly, he's African American. And a lot of people don't think James Bond should be African American. So, what I want to do is let's talk about our three picks for African American athletes that we think would be a good James Bond and who we think their foe would be. So, Dan, why don't you start? You do your three, then Tony will do his three, and then I'll do my three.
All right. My response in order are J.R. Smith, J.R. Smith, and J.R. Smith. And that is just because look at that beautiful bastard. J.R. Smith is clearly a god amongst men, and his nemesis, I think, would be Cold Air, because that's fighting against his hot streak, and as we've seen, when he gets cold, he gets very cold. And then I was thinking his other nemesis could possibly be Bowser, since he seems to dislike guys that are plumbing, shall we say, or laying the pipe.
Tony, what about you?
Couple of people I could see doing it. As far as smooth, like Ray Allen. We know he can act too, so that would be a possibility. If we want to go with the fact that they're going to make it a big deal about him taking James Bond because it's supposed to be a quote-unquote white role, which is ridiculous to me because James Bond always changes. It's just a 007 that stays the same. Why don't we take the Philadelphia Flyers' Claude Giroux, the African-American who plays for them, who's a captain of their team. He clearly knows what it's like to be in an area that apparently is supposed to be dominated by white people, apparently. So he'd have a comfortable reality with having to deal with all the backlash. Other than that, James Harden, because I'd want to see the beard.
I thought about James Harden, too.
I want to see the beard.
I actually have three real ones, too, but Dan, you can...
I thought long and hard about this. My first one, and it's not just because I'm a huge fan, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott would be a great James Bond because he's poised, calm, and collected. He stepped into an extremely stressful position having to replace Tony Romo, And the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is the most scrutinized position in all of sports. Absolutely. Tony Romo was one of the best quarterbacks for 6 or 7 years, and everyone just killed him. So stepping into that position and playing as well as he did, that shows he's calm, he's collected, he's got good decision making, he's poised. His foe,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
I have a lot of them.
The Giants.
Nope. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, Paxton Lynch, Christian Hackenberg, Jacoby Brissett, Cody Kessler, and Connor Cook. For those of you who don't know, those are all of the quarterbacks drafted ahead of him.
Yep.
The reason I picked them as his nemesis is because he felt that he was underdrafted. He thought he was a higher talent than 4th round. And by the way he played, he's absolutely right. I saw some redrafting things, and a lot of articles have him listed as being the number 1 overall draft pick if they could redraft at the end of the season. So I would say he was pretty spot on there. Number 2 would be Steph Curry. Much like James Bond, he is courageous, confident, willing to step up and take control of a bad situation. He's deadly accurate from anywhere, and he knows exactly what he's capable of doing. His foe would be LeBron James, because if not for LeBron James, he would be the face of the NBA. The only 2-time MVP in any sport that gets so scrutinized is him. Simply because, well, he's not LeBron James. My third one, and this one's going to be a little bit funny for my reasoning for his foe, would be Von Miller. The comparison between Von Miller and James Bond, I think, is a really good one. They're both really stylish, sleek, sly, and the life of the social event that they're in. They're just both bubbling personalities. However, when it comes down to it, James Bond and Von Miller are the only quote-unquote good guys that I don't want coming after me.
Okay.
His foe, and this is where it gets really weird, but I have good reasoning for it, is DeMarcus Ware.
I was hoping for Brady.
No, despite the fact that they're not actually enemies, they're friends, DeMarcus Ware is his foe simply because if not for DeMarcus Ware, that defense would be Von Miller's. He's the unquestioned leader of that defense now that DeMarcus Ware has retired.
Oh, no argument. Yeah, of course.
Okay, my real ones, because I don't think they could get J.R. Smith. He's too...
typed up.
He's too perfect. Would be Russell Westbrook versus Kevin Durant. And they could probably both have a case for Bond or villain, but I like the narrative of Durant's betrayal.
Durant's 100% the villain. Durant is the epitome of rogue agent.
Exactly.
Who joined
the
bad guys.
And I mean, look at Russell's style. He's got the most impeccable taste in suits, and
I'm going to give him number 2 to Rick DiPietro. He's been wearing some sweet pants on SportsCenter.
That's true. Second, I would love some beast mode, some Marshawn Lynch, and I just love him. And you could heavily involve Skittles. There could be mixed marketing opportunities.
His gun
fire Skittles.
His gun could be Skittles.
And in the new James Bond games, the next it would be Rainbow Eye and
Lemon Eye.
You would get the taste the rainbow gun or something.
No, and, you got a bullet and then a Skittle behind it. Pop, pop.
And his nemesis would of course be Pete Carroll and his coaching decisions.
Kind of looks like a Bond villain too.
He does.
Already, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I could see him being a Bond villain.
Yeah, put a little top hat or a monocle on him, and
He's Mr. Peanut.
A long cigar, the cigarettes with the little sticks.
The one
like
Hunter S.
Cruella
Thompson
DeVille.
used to have.
Yeah. Yours was a much better reference.
No, Cruella DeVille.
And the third one would be Pete Subban, or Subban. I always forget how to say his last name. I always read it. I don't ever say it. Versus the Canadiens management. And the common theme here is betrayal. And as you addressed, he is a black dude in a very white world of hockey,
yeah.
And I think
Especially
he's already
if we're going to make
faced.
this argument, because I